your comments and questions. So if you want to ask a comment or a question, we're working on getting it. Is this going to be the Fox Weather Facebook page?
Yeah, I'm coming here.
So but I know you can go to my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Bryan Norcross Weather, BRYAN Norcross Weather, and you can ask me a question. So while we're getting that organized, let me just go over where we stand right now with Hurricane Helene. Here you see the latest information from the National Hurricane Center as of 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 80-mile-an-hour hurricane, and moving to the north-northwest. So it's going to miss, it has missed the tip of Mexico there, moving to the north-northwest into the Gulf of Mexico. The pressure is going down. Hurricane hunters are out there right now. It's not an especially well-organized hurricane, as it turns out, but it is indeed quite strong for its lack of organization, which we're fearful that this is an indication that it is going to be a very strong hurricane that is very, very large. So let's look at the details here. There's the close-up of it. That's the 11 o'clock position, and it's probably up in here now is the center. We see this dry area kind of moving in over here. That dry area is part of the sense that it's not super intense at the moment, but that as the heat from the Gulf of Mexico lifts and expands out, thinking is that that will all fill in. Here's the radar coming out of Cancun, and you see it's a little bit jerky, but we can see the center of circulation. It's not really an eye, but the center of circulation is up in here. See it right there? And what this tells you, the main thing this tells you, is look at where the big yellow bands are. Big yellow and orange bands are here on the right side. They're all on the right side here, and they extend way out beyond radar range. And this storm, this hurricane, already is going to be expansive on out to the right, and unfortunately Florida there is, of course, on the right side. All right, here are the winds we see right now. Nothing too special here. This one over here in Cuba certainly looks suspicious, doesn't it, coming from that direction, because clearly the wind isn't coming from that direction. But they were gusting a little while ago up in the 40s, just to give you an idea how far east the winds of tropical storm strength gusts extend. Here you see Cancun coming in from the west now. And notice it's only 22 miles an hour at Cancun, so there isn't much on this backside. And these colors here show you where the yellows and the reds are. That's where the strongest winds are. And notice there are some strong winds on the left side, but they're mostly on the right side, and they extend out quite a long way over to the right, 175 miles or so now. It's expected that the tropical storm force gusts will extend out closer to 300 miles as this thing intensifies and expands during the day tomorrow. All right, let's take a look at the cone. This is the latest cone from the National Hurricane Center. Here you see the idea of intensification, that it becomes a 100-mile-an-hour hurricane. When it says there Wednesday p.m., that's tonight, that's this evening, that it's up to 100 miles per hour as it moves over the very, very warm water there in the Gulf of Mexico. The National Hurricane Center's forecast is for 120 miles per hour tomorrow morning, and it's in this area here tonight and tomorrow morning when the water under it and the conditions look exceptionally conducive for strengthening. So Hurricane Center goes with 120 and then 125, top end Category 3 at landfall somewhere to the east of Panama City over to near Cedar Key, something like that. Remember, this is the cone, so this is only where the center is going. It's got nothing to do with the extreme expanse of wind on out that covers the entire state of Florida. And could it be stronger? The answer to that is yes, it could be stronger. In fact, some of the computer forecasts that we most rely on for intensity show it's significantly stronger than 125. So the Hurricane Center has been mentioning that it is could be significantly stronger. Are you saying we're getting questions? What will Miami be seeing during the passing of the hurricane? Well, just hang on just one second, Marisol, and I'm going to talk about that here in just 1 second, because I want to show you for whatever reason, here, Jordan, there it goes. I want to show you a couple things first, and then we'll get to exactly what South Florida can experience. First of all, why might it intensify in some sort of dramatic way? It is forecast to be dramatic. It could be super dramatic, and here's why. The current that flows all around the earth, and most closest to Florida, we know it as the Gulf Stream and the Straits of Florida, flows up through the Caribbean like this, through the Yucatan Channel between Mexico and Cuba, and then loops back and becomes the Gulf Stream off of southeast Florida, of course. But it can't all make that hard loop. So part of it goes up here and makes a loop called the loop current up in the Gulf. And this is some of the warmest, deepest, most energetic water that is anywhere. And this hurricane, as you can see, is forecast to run directly over that loop current. We've seen this in the past with Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Rita in 2005. Both of those exploded into Category 5 hurricanes. Not saying that's absolutely going to happen this time. Depends on how organized the system gets here during the day today to what happens overnight tonight when it gets up with that superheated water that it's going to run over. All right, so getting to the question that Marisol asked from Miami. So here's the watches and warnings. So you notice that a tropical storm warning is in effect for the entire peninsula of Florida, except where there are higher level warnings, hurricane warnings, hurricane watches, and so forth. Miami, Fort Lauderdale, all of southeast Florida included in a tropical storm warning. What does that mean? It means you should expect winds over 40 miles an hour, gusting to, let's say, 50, 55 miles per hour. That's enough to knock out some power, but it's not enough to do some kind of widespread damage, and it's not going to blow for a long time. Like in Hurricane Irma, remember if you were in southeast Florida, in Miami, or anywhere over there, it blew and blew and blew and blew. This is not going to be like that, but it is going to blow a good part of tomorrow, and it's going to come from the southeast and then the south and then the southwest. And because the winds are forecast to be at least 40 miles per hour, they put up the tropical storm warning. Now that's true, notice, of the entire East Coast here, and all the way up to Charleston. This, like I've said, even though the cone is the center, the winds are going to be blowing out here like this, and they're going to be blowing into the Savannah area and all along Brunswick, Jacksonville, all along that East Coast is going to get strong winds, not like on the West Coast. So I'm looking at the wide view here because I want you to see how far this extends. And while we're looking at this, by the way, the tropical storm watch means be ready for the possibility of winds. Unless something changes, you're probably going to get them all the way up, all the way through Georgia into the Carolinas. So this is a big deal thing. Let's move a little closer in here now on the threatened areas. So first of all, a hurricane warning in those purple areas there, that includes Tallahassee, then extends down, includes Cedar Key. This could be, unless something changes, this is going to be the all-time hurricane in Tallahassee in the records. Now, Tallahassee has had some storms lately. They were on the fringe of Michael. There was Hermine and some other ones that were close, and Michael was quite devastating in part of Tallahassee. But to really get Tallahassee hurricanes, you have to go all the way back to the 19th century. That's when there were a lot of hurricanes up in that part of Florida. And then a long, long time, hurricanes kind of took a break there. Well, this hurricane is heading right in the direction of Tallahassee and other locations there. So I see a question here didn't I see a question about Crawfordville? Wasn't there a question about Crawfordville somewhere there? Yes, okay, so Robin, South Crawfordville, about 10 miles from the coast. I'm worried about flooding. Well, so how far in the surge will come in North Florida is very complicated, because anywhere where there's one of those rivers that comes down, like down to St. Mark's and so forth, that water can go a long way up. So I don't want to answer you and say, oh no, you're fine for storm surge. You need to check with Wakulla County Emergency Management. What instructions are they giving you? Now, in Crawfordville, you're in it. Crawfordville is a small town due south of Tallahassee, and so anything that Tallahassee gets, Crawfordville gets first. You are in the maximum hurricane threat in Crawfordville. All possible action you have to take to protect your life and your family. In terms of storm surge, though, you need to check with Wakulla County Emergency Management for your particular location. Okay, Jason wants to know, I want to know if it goes category 4 or 5, what does that do to the wind field on the outskirts, meaning what's the change for Duval County? So Duval County is Jacksonville, and if this storm gets even stronger than forecast, it doesn't change the Jacksonville, except that you would likely get stronger tropical storm force winds. So the threshold for tropical storm force winds here in Jacksonville is 40 miles per hour. If the sustained winds are 40 miles per hour, you've met the criteria for tropical storm. 60 miles an hour is also tropical storm. 65 is tropical storm, and 70. So if you end up with a stronger hurricane over here in the Gulf of Mexico, then that just increases the level. But as of right now, the National Hurricane Center doesn't think you would get out of the tropical storm force wind range. Now, obviously, there's no significant difference between a 70 mile an hour sustained wind and a 75, which would qualify for a hurricane. So just bear that in mind. If this thing intensifies, that means worse winds in Jacksonville is the bottom line. You think it can make landfall in Cedar Key? I guess that's Grenée, maybe? Grenée or Gwinnett? And how could that affect Tampa Bay? If for some reason this storm were to hug the right side of the cone and kind of hook a right toward Cedar Key, which we do not expect, I don't think there's much chance of it hanging a big right. There's a better chance of it just tracking up the right side of the cone, because the steering is really south to north. The exact angle, it's just too early to say. As we've seen, sometimes storms track to the right side of the cone. And if it comes to the right side of the cone, then this hurricane watch for metropolitan Tampa Bay is going to become a hurricane warning, and those storm surge forecasts of up to 8 feet might even be adjusted, or at least anybody that's planning for 8 feet is not in that location, right? So that's why they allow for a track that's a little farther to the right and within the cone. And they allow actually for it to even be a little outside the cone when they make these forecasts, to be sure that nobody is caught. That's really the goal. But I would not expect this at all. That would be a really odd, and I just don't see any scenario where this suddenly hangs a right. Leans to the right of the cone, yes. Hangs a right and comes in like the worst hurricanes for Tampa Bay. I think what you're referring to is the worst possible hurricane track for Tampa Bay is a curving storm that comes ashore, Cedar Key, Tarpon Springs, somewhere like that, like the 1921 hurricane, for example, or Hurricane Easy in 1950 that did that and caused significant storm surge in Tampa Bay. I'm going to look, let me just look on my page here. Yeah, we have some. Do you expect it to be worse than the 2017 hurricane in Albany, Georgia? Taylor asks. Albany is north of Tallahassee, and the 2017 hurricane we're talking about there is Irma. Yes, I expect this will be significantly worse than Irma in Albany. If you look at the cone we were looking at there, what you see is that I can't, maybe I can show it to you. Let me see if I do this. There it is right there. You can see Albany is in the hurricane warning zone. Yes, it won't be as bad as at the coast, but this will be one of the, unless something changes, one of the all-time bad hurricanes in Albany. You should be planning for every eventuality. Your safe place, where are you going to park your car, not under all the trees that are in that town, being ready for the power to go out for an extended period of time, maybe weeks without power. So yes, all of South Georgia in that hurricane warning zone, be ready for the worst hurricane you have ever seen. Let's kind of alternate here. What do you have here? Okay. Debbie in Gulfport, not expecting any effect in Gulfport, Mississippi. You're good. Western Panhandle of Florida, you're good. Samantha, what should we expect in Perry, Georgia? Perry, Georgia is north and central Georgia. You should expect strong winds. You should expect power outages. You don't want to park your car under any trees. You want to get it in a safe place. You should expect the possibility of significant flooding rain. Already it's been raining in Georgia. I don't know, I haven't looked at Perry exactly, but we're talking about the south central part of Georgia now, and this is all moving that way. So you're under a tropical storm watch at this point. That'll go to a tropical storm warning as we go forward, meaning expect winds over 40 miles an hour that can take down trees and take out power. How about Myrtle Beach? Myrtle Beach, it seems like you guys have had more hurricanes lately than anybody deserves. This is going to be a coastal event with winds blowing in off the ocean. There will be water rise. This won't be a dramatic storm surge like you've seen relatively lately, but you are going to have strong winds off the ocean, but this will not be a bad Myrtle Beach event. Let me see. Who else is writing in here? South Central Georgia, we were devastated by Michael. I'm preparing for this today. Yes, Debbie, unfortunately, you're going to get it again. It'll be different than Michael, but it's going to be bad. There's no making that better. How about the Midlands of South Carolina and the Columbia area? Well, the question is, the big question there is, you'll feel that it'll get windy in Columbia, but not devastatingly windy, although you may get some winds over 40 miles per hour, and that, of course, can take down tree branches and so forth. But the rain may be a problem. So I want you to stay in close touch with your local National Weather Service office there and your local media, and just be sure you know what the alerts are, because flash flood warnings are just going up all over the place from this, what's called a predecessor event ahead of the storm, kind of unrelated to the storm, but related to the steering of the hurricane, and that is more to your west and northwest, but it could very well make it to the Columbia area. So be aware of the flood potential, and I would be ready for the power to go out on Friday, just when the winds get kind of gusty, but you are more on the fringe. Citrus Springs. So Citrus Springs, there are always new places in Florida that I have to look up. Citrus Springs. I remember looking this up before. Okay, so Citrus Springs, right by Dunellen, yes. So this is over in the area southwest of Ocala. So for Citrus Springs and Ocala and Wildwood, Gainesville, you are going to be on the side of the storm. So let's go back over there to the map that we were looking at here. So we're talking about over in this area in here. So this whole area here, winds are going to be gusting to near hurricane strength there. So if you think to Hurricane Irma, what's another hurricane that caused so much problem in Gainesville? So this is a trees down, power out kind of a situation. It'll be moving by pretty quickly. You could get up to a foot of rain, probably less than that, but you could, if you get under a band, you can get it. So you should have your storm preps in place. Today is your day. Get cash, because there may not be power for a while. Don't park your car under trees. Find a parking garage if you can. You shouldn't have water problems. If you have any chance of having water problems, then you can put plastic in your bathtub, fill your bathtub 3/4 full, have some water ready just in case the water system would go out. The only reason that the water system would likely go out in locations like that is that sometimes trees that have roots, if they fall over, the roots pull up the water pipes, and you lose water or water pressure because of that. So using some good sense of having some water standing by and putting some water in the bathtub. Again, if you can get a plastic painter sheet, then the water will last forever. What kind of wind should we expect in South Georgia? Lucinda wants to know. Well, we're talking about Albany. This is depending on where you are in South Georgia, but from Albany to Valdosta, you are in the corridor of very strong winds of hurricane strength. So if you were not in the zone that Hurricane Michael hit, then imagine, I'm sure you saw the pictures and know about the experiences people had in Hurricane Michael. This has the potential to be that bad or worse, again, depending on exactly where you are in South Georgia. We talked about Crawfordville. If you missed that, who was that was asking about Crawfordville? Joshua talked about Crawfordville before because you are right in the core of it. You should have all possible hurricane preparations. Know where you're going to hide in your house, in the interior closet or hallway or bathroom with no windows. Maybe get a mattress off your bed. Get ready if you have to get under that mattress. This is, by everything we know, going to be a terrible storm Thursday night, picking up during the day on Thursday, with the peak being Thursday evening into Thursday night in Crawfordville. Here's one Greg asks from Columbus, Ohio. It's coming your way, but it'll be a much weaker storm. The question is exactly where the corridor of heavy rain is going to be. We'll just have to see how this evolves. There's an upper level low to the northwest, and it's going to get involved with that. So it's going to be kind of a double-barreled system in the Midwest, and exactly how the corridor of moisture is going to run varies from forecast to forecast because we're talking so far in advance. But yes, it is coming in the direction of impacts in the Columbus area and southwestern Ohio. I saw Orlando. Let's talk about Orlando and Lake County in Central Florida near Leesburg. Let me see. Yeah, Ada asked the question about Orlando, and Legene asked the question about Lake County near Leesburg. All right, so it's all the same for both. You're going to be on the side of the storm with the strong winds. So when the hurricane is over here, so we're talking about during the day tomorrow, then these strong winds are going to come off the water across Central Florida. So this is in Orlando and the Orlando metropolitan area, including Leesburg. This I would not expect to be a Hurricane Charlie situation. If you were around for Charlie, which put 100-mile-an-hour winds in Orlando, but this could be a Hurricane Irma kind of situation. Don't expect it to be Ian with that tremendous amount of rain, but in terms of Ian's wind, Ian, remember, went kind of on the other side. So this is going to be on the strong side. You'll be on the strong side of the storm. So expect winds in the 50 to 60 mile per hour range, gusting to hurricane strength, taking down trees, knocking out power. You should have your storm preparations in place. And yes, if it were to go to the right side of the cone, the winds could be stronger. It could be near hurricane strength, gusting up to 80 or 90 miles per hour maybe, just doing more damage. But this is a big kind of storm, not a Charlie small kind of storm. So it's a Charlie small kind of storm is almost like a small tornado. And this is a big, huge weather system instead. All right, who else we have here? Kim, Gastonia, North Carolina. So in Gastonia, you're going to be somewhat on the edge of it, but you have the potential. I don't know where the edge of the extreme rainfall is going to be. So you're going to have to, this is going to be a Friday, late Friday thing for when it starts up there, although you have this earlier event as well, but from the actual hurricane itself or storm itself. So you're going to have to stay in touch with your local media, local National Weather Service there to see, you know, are you in it or are you just out of it? Because in Gastonia it is going to be close. Let's see who we have here. Jody, just saw an article in South Florida is under a tropical storm warning, Barbara says. Yes, all of Florida is under a warning of some kind. Most of the peninsula is a tropical storm warning. Metropolitan Tampa Bay and just to the north is under a hurricane watch and tropical storm warning. In other words, if you're just under a tropical storm warning, and that includes Jacksonville, Orlando, Melbourne, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, all the way down and including Southwest Florida, that means expect winds 40 to 60, 70 miles per hour. Expect that. But if you're under a hurricane watch, it means expect that, but the possibility exists they will be higher and you could get put under a hurricane warning, meaning to expect higher winds if the hurricane were to move to the right side of the cone. So here you can see on the graphic there, the orange area here is that's the hurricane watch. So this is the area which is essentially metropolitan Tampa up through Pasco County and Hernando County, points north there up towards Cedar Key, all under the Citrus County under the hurricane watch, meaning tropical storm conditions for sure, maybe hurricane conditions, maybe it gets upgraded if the hurricane tracks down the right side of the cone or gets a little stronger than forecast or is a little bigger than forecast. You know, things can happen. The hurricane watch is to alert you to that possibility. What about Englewood, Claudia asks? Well, Englewood is north of Fort Myers. Because of the way the coast of Florida is shaped, let me move this along here. So Englewood down in here. So you're right at the fringe because notice that the coast of Florida slopes out here like this. That means that the winds coming around like this really push the water in there. So you have a significant storm surge threat right at the coast. Because the hurricane will be intensifying and growing as it goes north, it looks like your winds, when it's at its strongest, are going to come off the land. Well, some will come from the south too, but a lot of them will not be directly ashore like this. The storm will be kind of well to the north before you get the winds directly off the Gulf, and it should be far enough away that you stay in the tropical storm force range. So expect windy conditions, expect power outages, expect trees down, expect things to be blown around, expect problems, expect storm surge right at the coast. If you are ordered to evacuate, get out, because the potential is just too deadly, as we saw in Ian. Even though this isn't an Ian thing, this is a little different than Ian. It's bigger than Ian. Therefore, it's moving more water, but it's farther away. So that's why they have those big storm surge forecast numbers all along the coast, Englewood and all around. Madison County is up to the east of Tallahassee. Madison County, yeah, you're in it. You're definitely in it. April says Madison County is on the edge. Well, yes, on the edge of the cone, but not on the edge of the threat. You are right in the hurricane warning. All possible hurricane preparations need to be made all over Madison County. You hopefully will miss the eye wall, but the strong winds are going to extend way out to the east, including over you. You'll be very, very lucky if you don't get strong hurricane force winds through Madison County. So Madison County is in this area right over here. Let me see, we talked about Ocala again. That's one of those inland sections that you have where you have, and here's another question from Patricia in Lake Wales. So all that whole inland corridor that's well inland from the west coast under the tropical storm warning, including metropolitan Orlando and Kissimmee and Winter Park and Daytona Beach, the whole Orlando media market is under a tropical storm warning. So anybody where you routinely tune in to Fox 35 in Orlando, for example, if that's one of your local TV stations, you're under a tropical storm warning, expect those winds in that 40 to 60, 65 mile per hour range, and then with gusts maybe to hurricane strength, knocking out power. Be ready for no power and be ready to be stuck because trees are down and so forth. Let me see if we have any people in areas that I haven't talked to here at the moment. Let me get over here. Right, so let me just repeat for the difference between the watch and the warning. What about metropolitan Atlanta? Yeah, well, let me talk about Atlanta in a second. But just to be clear, this distinction between the hurricane watch and the warning, I think it really is confusing. But the warning means that's what you should expect right now. You should expect that when this storm comes by tomorrow, you're going to have winds blowing over 40 miles an hour. So if it's 40 mile an hour winds, that means gusts to 50 or 60 miles an hour. Right, so that's significant. And if it's a 50 mile an hour wind, then you're up in the 60 and 70 mile an hour gusts. So that's what you should expect. If you are under a hurricane watch as well, that means it could go higher. And to be ready for that possibility. If you're just under a tropical storm warning, the National Hurricane Center thinks that the odds of it going to hurricane strength in your area are not high. Okay, let me see. I wanted to just talk about Atlanta real quick, and then we're going to wrap up for right now because I've got to get to Beyond Fox Weather, and two things about that. But one is that in Atlanta, yes, Atlanta, as it stands right now, is indeed in the threat zone here. Let me just show you. We want to move forward here. Let's see. See if I got the right graphic to show you. So look at this here. This is the power outage widespread. So we're talking about from Southwest Florida, all of the northern Florida Peninsula, and part of the Panhandle, up to the whole upstate of South Carolina, maybe including the Columbia area, Roanoke, western North Carolina, and metropolitan Atlanta. That implies that it takes the National Hurricane Center track curling back there to the left. And we talked about Columbus being right on the fringe here. Now the moisture is coming up here too, but this is just power outages due to wind. So this is a huge area, and the reason this is happening is twofold. One is, as we talked about, it's a big storm. So the winds are going to extend out here to the Bahamas as it comes north. The other is it's moving super fast. So it's going from here in the morning to here in the evening to there the next morning, the center of it. So this wind is going to be screaming north on this side. And so metropolitan Atlanta, again, it's a power outage thing. Atlanta with all those trees and everything. Yes, find a place to park your car. It's not in a low spot where it can get flooded and not under trees. All over the millions of people that live there in metropolitan Atlanta. Same thing in any of those Athens and Greenville and Asheville and Knoxville. All those areas need to be on high alert. All right, folks, so I'll be on Fox Weather all afternoon this afternoon, and of course, to keep you up to date here as well. And if you don't know how to get Fox Weather, you don't have Fox Weather, maybe just go to foxweather.tv, foxweather.tv, and it'll show you how to get Fox Weather on your phone, your iPad, your computer, and on your TV. We're live and free everywhere you want to go. So thanks very much for tuning in, and good luck. It's going to be a long, long day tomorrow and Friday. Take care.